Hearing none, Jessica, please poll the board.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yeah.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
and Ms. Trout.
Yes.
All right. Next agenda item.
Just wanted to thank the board and looking forward to working with all of you closely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. All right. Next agenda.
Item 5D, discussion and possible action regarding administration's recommendation for curriculum and instruction executive director.
I move to approve. Oh, we all want to.
Since we're
I
having
didn't say
this,
nothing.
please ask to be recognized, and so with that, I can recognize Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve administration's recommendation
And I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
for curriculum and instruction executive director, which is Jessica Young.
Okay.
You have to wait a minute.
All right. Any further discussion from the board? No further discussion from the board. Jessica, please poll the board.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Absolutely,
and
yes.
Ms. Trout.
All right. Motion passes. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you, and I just want to thank you and just, I know that I've been in this district 20 years. My own children are products of this district. I'm very proud of how fearless and innovative the leadership team is, and all of you, and who I'm going to be working with. But I do it for the students, and I'm just going to continue to work hard for them, so thank you.
That takes care of that agenda item. Next agenda item, Jessica.
Item 5E, discussion and possible action regarding administration's recommendation for finance executive director.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rodriguez.
I'll make a motion to approve administration's recommendation for finance executive director, which is Mr. Christine Paul.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on agenda item 5E. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none. Jessica, please poll the board.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yeah.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Absolutely, yes.
and Ms. Trout.
Motion passes. Ms. Pulley.
I want to thank the board so much for the trust that you have placed in me and how much I appreciate the opportunity to serve this community, to serve our students, and to serve our staff. I love my job. I love what I do, including the challenges and trying to figure out what to do next. It's my passion, so I thank you so much for allowing me to share that passion with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Why don't everybody, all the new hires coming up? These are pretty important positions.
Thank you.
Oh,
yes, our honor.
Oh, our honor.
These are the new, this month, everybody this month.
I know.
Okay, okay. It's a new team, new day. Good job.
Ready? One. Hello. Mr. Tiny? Ready. 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect.
I know we give time for some of the hires to come up and speak. Anybody of the new hires that we just had want to come up and say anything? Gustavo.
I just want to thank the board and Dr. Galaviz for taking another chance on me and welcoming me back. It feels like I'm back home and I'm really grateful to once again serve the community of Cantillas.
Thank you, Gustavo.
May an old hire say something?
This is the rich golden parachute retiree here.
I just want to say, what a beautiful thing to see. That's what retirement's about. It's opening opportunities for other people. And I look here at this team that I've had the pleasure. And, you know, I've been so happy because I'm going to start a new chapter in my life. But I'm also very moved to have worked with these people. At graduation, I said, you know, we few, we happy few. And I look here and I have enjoyed a career of 31 years, the last 12 in the best place, which is Canateo ISD. You know, I only knew Canateo as the little diner. That's when I was in Canateo. And what a blessing it was. And so I want to thank the board for taking a chance on me as an assistant principal coming here to Alderete Middle School. And I just want to say how much I enjoy being here and being with these wonderful people. You guys are in the best hands. I tell you, you are in the best hands. And one final thing, he doesn't want to be talked about. He always says, no, it's you, it's you. And he won't say it, is Dr. Pedro Galaviz. He has been like a brother to me. You know, he's been a brother to me. And I just love the guy, and I'd do anything for him. And anyway, we're kind of the brother and sister in the back of the station wagon causing trouble. But we did a lot of great things together. We did a lot of great things together, and it's been the highlight of my life to work with such a man. And I know it has been for you. And I ask everybody to remain committed to Pedro Galaviz, because whenever there's a person that you needed to rely on or go to, you went to Dr. G, and he listened to you, he didn't yell at you, he just heard you out. This is what I'm talking about.
Might as well go ahead and give this to you. This is a plaque that we are giving to you, the Eagle, for your dedicated service to Cantillo ISD.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See, thank you so much. Sorry I caused so much trouble. And my brother too. Thank you, guys. Thank you. 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 So much. Sorry I caused so much trouble. okay.
Need another name there.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much.
Well, let's get everybody up here to talk about the new positions. Dr. Kearney? Oh, Sal, if I could say something?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I want to, well, Dr. Carney, go ahead.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve as the new Associate Superintendent. It's really my honor to serve you in this capacity. I have big shoes to fill. Marnie Rocha is just amazing. And I'm so grateful to be able to work with Dr. Galvez and all of you and to serve the district and this community. So thank you so much.
I just wanted to, I guess, request that here recently we went out to look at the new internal auditor. And we were debating this and that. And I think the stars were aligned and perfectly set up. And I just want to say, we need to invite Mr. Center to come up and speak. This is what Cantillo puts out, people. Just tell them who you are and where you've been and what you've done. She went to Huntsville Elementary, that way.
You internal auditor.
Yes.
Mr. Sarah, come on.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not sure on the protocol. This is my first board meeting, so I'm a little nervous, but thank you, Mr. Bayan. I think the reason he wanted me to share where I came from is because when I graduated from MPO, I went to UTEP. And right after UTEP, I was able to move from the East Coast to the West Coast. I have worked in Washington, DC at the highest levels of government. I was at the Federal Reserve, I was at the FDIC, in the IG's office. I loved it there. It was a great foundation. I was a great learning experience. It was the best time I could have ever had, personally and professionally. After that, I went to private industry. I worked at some of the biggest corporations. I worked at Boeing. I've been at Citigroup. So yeah, it was just an amazing experience professionally. And I was able to come back and work at the largest Army installation at Fort Bliss for 5 years there. Worked for 3 very difficult colonels, so I'm sure, I'm pretty, I've developed some thick skin, so I did that for a really long time, but I'm back home because I'm a San Jose High School graduate, and I'm so excited to be here. And I really hope that, I will finish it all here because this is where I'm from, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I really am. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, sir. Come on up.
Yes, sir. Once again, I'd like to thank the board, Dr. Galvez, and the entire team. What an honor to be in kind of you. I really feel blessed. I've been given a lot of opportunities, but I know that I feel I'm already at home. I can't say enough. I've been in education for over 20 years. The majority of the time is at CISD. I've been working really hard to make sure that my craft is at its highest. I'm really excited to work with our team. And I just say so just oh, and that's my beautiful bride, Sandra, my wife. Cheerleader, best supporter, 32 years of marriage, and I haven't done anything wrong because she takes care of it, tells me what to do. So it doesn't mean that I can't do anything, but I'm just really excited. I served in the Army for several years during the Desert Gulf War. So I think I'm ready for any challenge. We take care of any situation, and I'm just looking forward to servicing and all of the kind of your community and just being part of it, really just dive in head first. I asked Dr. Kearney, what time can I be at school tomorrow? But she said, no, you gotta be here first. So I'm just really excited, I'm ready to work. And thank you very much.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard again. All right, thank you, everyone. That certainly a lot of new, some new people in new positions, but old people in new positions.
Mr. Sharp?
I'm not gonna call you old, the one that took over. But they're homegrown. Yes, Ms. Crowder.
I just want to welcome everyone, and I'm so proud of you, and it talks about the quality of staff, employees that we got here in this district. Unfortunately, we're gonna lose one, very valuable one, but I'm pretty sure that it's gonna stay a very good one already here, so he talks about who we are. He talks about this is the district #1, and it's because of the employees that we have. Quality employees that they love this district. And that's the only way that we can succeed in this, because if we love our employees, we support you, at the same time, you're gonna support the most lovely and most precious treasure that we got here, which is our students. And thank you very much for that, and welcome home one more time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Crowder. Anybody else? All right, everybody, welcome again. Look forward to great success on the part of our team. All right, next agenda item.
Item number 6, public hearing. 6A, public hearing regarding the proposed 2022-2023 annual budget. Public is invited to attend by public comment.
First, deal is good news.
Always.
First off, I want to personally thank you for your trust in Ms. Lloyd. I had the pleasure of working with her at the Haven School District, and couldn't be in better hands. We're home. So, board president, members of the board, Dr. Galavis, we are here for our annual budget adoption. And there's been a lot of talk tonight about taking chances. And so we're going to start off with the unknown. Fiscal 2023 unknowns. There is so much unknown which goes into creating this budget. And so I was asked, how can we approve a budget when we don't know any of this information? Well, that's why we make our best educated guess with the information that's available. And of course, we come to you with a very conservative guess, so that hopefully in the future we'll come to you with additional revenues in the future. There's not much difference between this budget and what you saw in April when we presented. The budget priorities are still listed. The major difference is going to be that compensation was approved at 3% across the board. And that amount is included here, and then we agreed to make an adjustment to the attendance.
So just to kind of go through the slides, this is information that we had presented prior. Our enrollment, we're still, what we did is, of course, we rolled forward our kiddos that are currently enrolled up one level, and then kept our pre-K and early education the same steady, but we did increase the attendance rate to 96%. And this is what we based our budget on and our revenues. Our enrollment projections per campus did not change. Like I said, we just rolled up our students to the next grade level. And so that still is the same as we presented in April. Our property values, we did receive our preliminary values in April, late April. And we did see an increase from last year to this year of 12% in preliminary values. After meeting with CAD, they did expect a lot of protests this year. So we are looking, we'll be receiving our certified values in July. And we'll make an adjustment if needed on our revenues at that point. The next item is our M&O tax rate. This is based on an estimate based on the growth of our tax values. We will receive an official Tier 1 tax rate from PEA in early August. And if time is available, we will adopt our new tax rate in August. If not, we'll bring it to the board in September, depending on the timing. But for right now, we are estimating our Tier 1 tax rate to go down to 0.8237. Overall, our tax rate is expected to go down about 2 cents. The next slide shows you your projected property tax revenues that we're expecting in the upcoming school year. If you notice, we do show an increase in tax revenues. However, we do expect for our revenues to remain constant because we have that balancing act with the state. The more revenues you receive as tax revenue, the lower our state revenues come in. So it'll balance each other out. The next slide shows the budget allocations by campus. For the most part, there is a decrease. We did part of our strategy to fund the raises was to allocate certain salaries to ESSER. One of those, the salary groups that we're going to charge to ESSER for the next fiscal year is going to be custodial help. We justified that group because they are assisting with COVID mitigation, cleaning, sanitation. So they are being funded through ESSER. So that's why you see some decreases, as well as for the current year, we did have a drop in enrollment. So there was some vacant FTEs that were closed. So those also account for some of these decreases at the campus level. The next slide will show you the expenditures that are budgeted in function 11, which is instruction. There was a small increase for the proposed 2023 school year. And our administrative cost ratio, we have a target of 10%, which is so that we can obtain the maximum points on our first rating. We do project or have budgeted for the proposed tax year, for the proposed fiscal year of 10.6. Our target rate is 10%. And so we're inching closer. We did have a couple of years where we were able to move some salaries from function 21 and function 41, which is administration, into ESSER. So that's why we were able to lower our ratios in the previous couple of years. However, now we're back to a normal school year. And so that's why we're back to 10.6, still inching closer to that 10% mark. Our next slide shows us our general fund projections, how we expect to end the current school year, and then also our proposed budget. With the funding from ESSER, we were able to manage to balance the budget. Our revenues do equal our expenditures. We do anticipate to have some projects that are being rolled over that were funded already through fund balance or assigned fund balance, things that are still ongoing. We have a little bit of funds left from the maintenance tax notes, which we will be making our next payment with in the upcoming school year. However, we do expect for this year, fiscal year 22, to end pretty much even. The next slide will show you the changes in fund balance over the last few years, in particular in unassigned fund balance. We currently are projecting to have about almost 16 million in unassigned fund balance for this upcoming school year. I'm sorry, for the ending of this fiscal year. Our optimum is about 15.8, so we're right on target as far as what our optimum fund balance it should be. The next slide will show you the child nutrition fund. We do this fund because of the waivers that have been implemented. by the federal government for the COVID pandemic. There has been additional revenues generated by the Child Nutrition Fund. So that fund is right now currently has a healthy fund balance, a little too healthy. So he's actually on a spending plan. They're allowed 3 months of fund balance is their optimum. So there is a spending plan to get that fund balance back down. However, this upcoming school year, those waivers have also been extended. So we'll have to do some planning for this upcoming school year as well, because those waivers with the additional revenues, we are expecting more revenue in the Child Nutrition Fund. And debt service, we did send in a nuisance payment, an additional to almost $2.5 million towards our bond payment, and which we spent this school year. So we do estimate for us to have a loss of 822. However, it's due to that nuisance payment. We do expect to have a balanced budget for the upcoming school year. And the next slide will show you how you will be approving the budget, which will be by function and by fund level. So for the proposed budget for the general fund, we are proposing a budget of $63,401,400. I'm sorry, 400. And then for child nutrition, $5,942,000, and for debt service, $11,536,000, and it's broken down by the function. So next steps is documented by our budget calendar. So we will be adopting the budget tonight. And then next steps will be to bring the tax rate to you in either August or September for adoption. And with that, the public.
All right, before I ask the board for any questions, to this a public hearing, we invite the public to have any comments with regard to the presentation right now. Anybody from the public? All right, hearing none, anybody from the board have any comments or questions? Ms. Proud.
I do have a question, Ms. Bowie. Budget allocation by function, page number 16. I noticed here that it was a decrease in the guidance, counseling, and evaluation services, as well as social work services, from 46,173, and the other one for social work, 2,038. I would like this to understand.
So part of the reclassification to ESSER funds was also some curriculum and instruction positions. However, those positions are split funded. So one of those particular positions is the director for student support. For a portion of her position was funded for counseling under function 31. So when we moved her position over to ESSER, it caused that decline.
Okay, so can you please give me an update about the ESSER? How we are doing, or can you give us later on if you have a good, great, how much we've been spending?
Well, currently for ESSER 3, our grant is for about $10.7 million. Currently, we have spent $3 million in ESSER funds. All the funds are earmarked for the plan and purpose of ESSER. We have we moved $2.4 million from the general fund salaries into ESSER for this upcoming school year. That was what allowed for us to do the 3% raise. All the other special projects are ongoing, as well as the salaries for the different positions that were hired. There were new positions to bridge the learning gap.
So the special projects that we have is the 2.3 million. Is that what it is?
They are it's about it's about $2 million. Yes.
Like, for example, here on page 12, we're talking about fiscal year 2.3 million prior year carryover projects. In the project revenues less expenditures for fiscal year 2022-2023, the general fund, including the child nutrition.
Yes.
So we have carryover from 2.3
Yes, these are, however, are funded through the general fund.
out from the general.
Yes.
General fund. So now the ESER, so how much we have there?
All of the funds are earmarked. We currently have about 62,000 that hasn't been earmarked. But for the most part, the entire grant has been earmarked for either salaries or software that has been purchased. There's been infrastructure upgrades to allow connectivity. And of course, most of it has been absorbed through salaries.
For salaries. Thank you. And I guess the other questions that were answered already. So, and going back, I think you already explained this, but going back on page number 9, we see the decrease in campuses to San Elementary for 286,591 and Davenport for 281 and 28. And this is due to what?
So the decrease in Davenport, they have 2 custodians that are now being funded out of ESSER. So that caused about $70,000 increase. They also had a decrease for an at-risk aide. They also, our SAE funding was also decreased this school year. It decreased about $447,000. So that also was absorbed through the campuses because most of that funding goes to the campus. So we had to also cut those budgets because the SAE funding wasn't there this year.
So what about students? Do we have any students at home?
And yes, there was also a decrease in students. They also, one of their reception, they had a 0.5 campus receptionist that is also being funded out of ESSER.
Okay.
And they had 3 teacher positions that were vacant and were closed. And that's what caused most of that decrease.
And just one more then, I just want to be sure that in going back to page number 16, the guidance and counseling evaluation social work services, they're going to be protected, right? This is something that we really need in this district.
Yes, no, so
That
the
because
pos-
it's everybody decrease means that we're not going to
Correct.
have protected.
right, the position is still there, it just has a different funding source and not the general fund. For this upcoming school year.
Perfect. Okay, appreciate that.
So yes, we've been working with curriculum and also with HR, with human resources, to ensure that those employees that we're moving for this 1 year, that they are secure.
They are secure.
They are secure, just as they were before, as long as they meet their evaluations and performance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Ms. Bernadette?
In regards to some of the funds we've shifted to ESSER funds over the years, when does that run out? I know we're taking record, but I think it's important, especially to communicate that to the community. That is a possibility once those funds run out, that we have to put them to the maintenance conservation.
Well, I think that's an excellent question, and there's a lot of detail involved in that, so possibly that we could bring that back as a separate presentation to show you what has happened with the ESSER funds, because originally, Ms. Rocha made a presentation regarding the.
I don't want an update. I mean, it's okay if you need to provide an update to the board. What I'm saying is making sure we keep record. And I'm sure we all have the amount that we're actually utilizing the ESSER funds to help minimize the impact on our. So that way in the future, when the ESSER funds run out, that's going to have to come back into our maintenance operations. And if we don't look healthy when that happens, then it's going to have to be possible
Yes,
consequences.
that's called the funding cliff, and we have been cognizant of that, and we've discussed it in cabinet. We are keeping an eye on it.
But I think it's important to explain to, I believe the board is looking at going, start governance to the community. And these are all they're looking at. I think it's important that we. certain, certain issues were.
I think August might be a good time to discuss that, and consider going out for the bond. What its consequences are of not passing what we're talking about. There is one of those things, but there's a lot of other things that can happen if we don't pass that. Pass the bonds and actually the referendum on our maintenance tax. So that certainly will have a great, huge effect on, we're gonna have to cut M&O down the road. To get that moved over. INS fund. And that's something critical that we really take a look at. And I think maybe a presentation on that for August. Something we need to take a look at. Okay, anybody else? Comment, Ms. Searles?
Hey, Jim. So I'm gonna go back to last month's meeting and we got the ESSER. And in that we had, I'm looking at our salaries and the ESSER positions. You got the, see where it's in red, it's 1.3 million budgeted salaries are currently vacant. Is that still correct?
No. So now those positions have been closed and we repurposed those funds for the positions that were previously funded through the general fund are now for this fiscal year will be funded through ESSER.
Okay, so this has now been
Consumed.
consumed. Good word. Thank you. Okay, and I did see, I know we had a member of our public this evening come in and discuss security. And I do see that we increased our security budget by $184,000+. And maybe someone could reach out with an update on how we're doing it. I know the board would like to hear that too.
We will be scheduling
Okay.
a meeting for the security.
And do we still have a security?
Yes.
And is it the same one that we had? It's the same thing? And are you taking minutes? Okay, could the board then be forwarded the minutes in the Thursday packet? If we can, keep up with what's going on, because it is a, big time of security and what's going on, I feel like.
I'll take that really in conjunction with a lot of what we purposed in the previous bond election was for security. Kind of hand tight on that without having those funds. So that goes hand in hand with our planning.
It looks like we're doing,
Planning.
we left our money. And so we have left our money. It looks better. It looks really good.
Just saying, but we need infrastructure money, not just for those things that we moved over. We need infrastructure money for security. That was in the bond. Obviously, we can't spend money we don't have for security. Since it was in the bond, that was our proposal for it. So.
I have one other question. What is the board's travel budget for the year?
I don't have that number. It's the same as it was last year.
Which was,
I would have to get that.
could you please have that forthcoming? Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Payam?
In relation to property values going up and El Paso being recognized as one of the highest property value cities in the state, are we addressing the issue of the property values versus the tax rate? Because I know there was a news item where Westway, the property values and percentage-wise went up the highest in the county in Westway, which is where people can least afford the high tax section. Are we addressing that property values tax rate issue, or does the state do that?
Well, the values are set by the central appraisal district. So all that we have, and not necessarily control over, but what we set is the tax rate. If our values stay above the state average, our
Yeah, because I don't know, and I realize we have very little influence on property values going up or coming down. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that, and again, I bring this point up because it was a big issue. And I've talked to some people in Westwood. Westwood was impacted the highest in the county of any other segment in the county. And those people are the ones that at least afford it. That's a very humble community. And leaving, think of them, never, if you have any influences for whether the tax rate or the property values, or how that impacts people.
And as she said, since we grew at 12% compared to the state average of 4%, that will continue to compress our rate, and that's how we're allowed to drop by the 2 cents that we're dropping this time. But yes, we have very little influence on anything to do with values.
Thank you.
And Mr. Bayan, if I understood that, by state law, they can't tax you on more than 10% of the previous year's valuation of the residence anyway, so even if it might be above that. And we just need to, really, I guess, maybe have some kind of a timer for folks, because those tax forms really aren't that tough to central places, except that they're very easy to read. They're not easy to read, and so that's something I think we kind of change it. But maybe we need to kind of instruct people that they can have a right to protest those valuations. They need to do it soon when they come up.
And again, even 10%, even 5% for some of those folks.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I do have, if I could get an update, I know we gave it 3%, and now that other districts have followed, I know there's been some miscommunication out there, but where do we stand on that? Maybe we could get an update in our Friday packet that, in regards to the other districts, are they caught up? Are they, people, I guess, miscommunication is, I guess, in the discussion we had with the 4 days that administration provided, some of the comments were that they didn't understand if, or knew if we gave raises. So this is on top of what we approved previously, was a pay raise increase, and then 4 days on top of that. Can you give us a little update on what you looked at? I guess would that be Martha, which Martha C, just, and off what you've seen of districts have approved, and where does that put us in the market?
Well, most of the other districts won't approve till next month, is that right, Martha? I believe he's finalizing, right?
No, I believe that they've already done.
Have they? They have?
Yes, and I don't have my phone with me, but I know that Socorro, Sleta, El Paso, they've adopted a general pay increase that is higher than the 3% that we did. But of course, their budgets are a lot larger. And so at that point, I think last month on the 24th, or May 24th, when we adopted our or approved our general pay increase at 3%, that is what we are implementing here in our district at this point in time.
And I guess if we could get a comparison of what that looks like, of what other districts have approved. I know some of them are kind of catch up to us or to other districts. So it's not that drastic in regards to what we were at in the market. So,
Yes, I'll send you some of that information in the first packet.
Anybody else? Mr. Rose?
Mr. Payan, it might be, and yes, Westwood's a wonderful community. Maybe we as the district could hold some type of a meeting, but did they make sure that everybody gets the over 65 exemption that they're due in the military and the disability, because you have to apply for it. They don't just like do it for you and all you protect. You have to apply, and maybe they don't realize that. It's not very hard to apply. But if you don't know you need to, it might behoove us to maybe somehow have a little community meeting that, helped bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Preston, you were going to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to add that I was at a tax advisory committee meeting this morning, and they talked about some funds that are available to help those who were impacted by COVID. They need help with it, paying either their property taxes or their mortgage. And I brought some information for Mr. Revelis to disseminate, so we put it out on social media, so.
Make a suggestion, because again, I go back, and I realize social media is easy. Bunch of people trading keys, bottles. A lot of people don't have social media, not the ones that are paying the bill. And then Mr. Rivera said, you can reach out with a flyer or anything that people can get in their hands and look at it and say, okay, this is what I'm facing. This is what I need to be able to be, like Mrs. To be able to pay the bill. Hey, there's assistance here. Go here, go do this. If you can do that. So,
I totally agree, on paper.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
because I know it's, maybe it's just me, but some people over there, they're very modest. I have a sister that's 86 years old, and she's struggling, and believe me, it's hard. Medical bills, tax bills, light, gas, fuel, everything else is coming up. And I don't want people to start thinking that we're gonna pile on with this bond. We want to make sure that we communicate to them, we're not going to raise your taxes. But we want you to know that here's some basically you can get help. It's important.
One of the other things we can do when we have as a board under the LSG that we're going to do and reach out and have a community meeting, we might want to prepare an information sheet for individuals to be aware about what they can do about the taxes, and they include both their homestead exemption, their 65 years and over exemption, their limit on what their tax rate, their tax valuation can increase to be taxed per year, and what they can do about protesting the valuation. So maybe we got to have at least some kind of a primer sheet for individuals that we can hand out to them when we go to these meetings. Just a suggestion for administration. All right, anybody else?
But I would like to add, Mr. Chair, just in case the people that would like to ask, they could feel free to call, I guess, and make some questions about the taxes if they need, for example, like, we're talking about to put this on paper, but what about if someone from the community, they say, you know what, I have maybe something here, I do not understand. Can someone help the community and explain them, just in case?
We can link them to people that can help them.
Oh, you can direct someone, right? Because
Because that is tax.
We don't deal with that tax bill, but we can certainly.
yeah, exactly, but with someone or direct someone, you know, what someone. Excuse me, I have the floor, Mr. Chair. What I was telling you, for example, if someone calls, definitely you can direct someone to get exactly the information that they need, right? We're not going to deny information, it's someone from the community call, right? Thank you so much, appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, next time, ask to be recognized first if you don't want me to interrupt you, Ms. Crown.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anybody else? Mr. Bernardo, you're from the public. We still have a public hearing. You can come up, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, but so remember that you
Hold
told
on,
me.
we have somebody.
No, let me finish this. You
Yes.
said someone else would like to add something. That's when I said. That's why,
Okay.
because you said someone else would like to say.
All right.
Most of the
Mr.
time I
Bernardo,
have
you
to be
can come up, sir.
recognized.
You can come up, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to know more about the facility maintenance, and also at this point in time, safety and security tied to a bond should be seen as a failure. And to me, it's a failure if you're asking for that money now at this point in time. And we should already, the board should have came out today and said, hey, this is what we're gonna do to make our schools safe and secure. Some things are getting hurt. I understand this perfectly. I know things are hurt, but
tying safety and security to the bond is a failure. And I hope you see that, because at this point in time, safety and security should have been priority way before now. So, Uvalde is the district that's many people that live here in County too. So everyone should be to say to themselves, it could happen here. I've been saying it could happen here since the beginnings of y'all know. So I hope that you guys come together and agree that something needs to be done. For me, I spent the whole extra money on the safety and security and accept some of the consequences of that, but the public would have cheered you on. So thank you for your time.
All right.
And of course, I love feedback to hear from you guys, because that's how I work with my community, and to give you guys the feeler so you can make a decision that's informed how the community is feeling. So if you have any question or comment, you know, you're more than welcome to talk to me privately, publicly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
I just need clarification from staff. My understanding is safety and security can't come out of ESSER money. There can be certain, like, let's say ventilation systems, that type of stuff could come out, but not other type of funding that we need for some of our safety and security issues. Is that correct?
You would have to address learning loss or sanitation, those types.
Correct. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. Yes, I didn't know that, but that's part of the problem. I didn't know that. And what Mr. Rodriguez says, that's part of the problem. I didn't know that. So it didn't necessarily have to be a comment. Yes, we're going to find the money. It cannot come out of ESSER, but we're going to find the money to have kids' safety and security. Not that we can't do it. We can't. I mean, enough of that already. You see how outrageous the public is? We're dealing with our kids here. I've read, studies on mass shootings, and our kids are the ones doing the mass shootings. It's not strangers. We have to protect ourselves and our children. Even if they can't come out of that one, they can come out of it somewhere. For sure.
Mr. Chair, I want to get back to the budget.
Yeah.
It could be a tax hotline or. So I just want to get back to the budget while we're here.
All right. Anybody else commenting on the public hearing for the budget? All right.
I do.
Okay. Ms. Earls, real quick. We've had our
Certainly.
chances.
I know this has been a trying year, and a balanced budget is a very good thing. Thank you very much for bringing us a balanced budget. It may not be a perfect budget, but I know that you worked very hard on it. It is balanced, and I've asked a lot of hard questions of Ms. McCarski this week. I want y'all in the public to know that I've asked for a lot of hard questions. She's had to babysit me most of the week. And if you gave good answers, and I do feel, sure, it could be better. All of our budgets could be better, but I feel like we've got a pretty good budget to start with, and I also feel like we've got a little wiggle room there too that we're not even talking about.
It's a living document.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. Ms. Barnes, real quick.
So in regards to the budget with the bond that was mentioned, I think it's very hypocritical statements to be saying that we need a bond in order to take care of these things. And then, Mr. Payan, I just want to say thank you for speaking up for the people in Westlake, because that was a concern that we had throughout the entire bond process, that our taxpayers are not going to be able to afford that tax increase. And so we're still talking about a bond coming up with no talk about those tax increases that our community members are going to face. Regardless, with bond, without bond, with ESSER, without ESSER, I think what Mr. Bernardo is trying to get across is our safety and security should have been thought about and included in facilities master plan well before the bond or ESSER was ever discussed or available. That should have been the top of our priority. And I want to make it clear
that if safety and security would have been the top priority and not other things that were constantly pushed, the bond may have passed. Because you would have been showing your community that safety and security was the top of your priority and not new buildings that we didn't need. So if you want your community to trust you, if you want your community to be behind the bond, and yes, this has to do with the budget, Dr. Galavis, because we're talking about, you brought up the bond, Mr. Coronado, correct? So,
Right. Yeah, real quick
but
though,
I'm just saying, yes,
related to
if
budget.
you want your budget to be effective and you want things in safety and security to be passed and you want people to support your bond, then put needs first, not wants. Like we talked about in safety, in the bonds committee over and over again, and we were ignored. That's why your bond didn't pass, and that's why your community doesn't trust you. You want your community's trust, put the needs first.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, I think that pretty much takes care of the
Just briefly, briefly, and also
Yeah, too
paying
much on that.
travel expenses, that's all.
Sure.
Travel expenses, money, the funds.
All right. I think that takes care of this agenda item. Thank you, Ms. Pulley, Persky. Thank you very much.
We need action.
Yes,
Mr. Sher,
presentation rather than hearing. Now we're up to the, all right,
Mr. Sher,
Ms. Trout.
I do have, to move to approve the annual budget.
What was that? Thank you.
To approve the annual budget.
I fund.
Yeah, it has to be by, the motion has to be by funded fashion.
There's a
By
resolution
funded-
that has to be set.
Huh?
The resolution
Yeah, there is a resolution.
So we're gonna,
that you have to read the resolution.
You want to make the motion, Ms. Trout?
I would like to say, I need to read the resolution first.
All right.
Page number. One second. Which page is the resolution?
It's not.
Where is it, the 16th?
I don't think it is.
Mr. Karski, which page is the resolution?
It's not a resolution, it's a motion.
Yes.
Which
You know what?
resolution are you
The
talking?
resolution comes with the tax rate.
There's none of that. We just
Right, the tax
adopted-
rate will be in September.
Right.
You just need a motion to approve the budget.
By funded.
Okay, I'm 500 functions. I made already my move to approve the budget by funded functions.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. on this agenda item to approve the budget as proposed by administration by funded function. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, Jessica, please poll the board.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza,
yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
and Ms. Trump.
Yes.
All right, next agenda item.
Next agenda item is 7E, discussion regarding Lone Star Governance, LSG, student outcome goal 1B and goal 2 map.
Good evening, board members, President Cornell, Superintendent Galvis. It's a pleasure to be before you again. We are very excited on behalf of the academic team to bring to you our 2022 spring results for literacy and math.
starting from kinder and going through grade three. I'll begin the presentation with, if you could take me to the next slide. Going after that. Thank you. I'm starting tonight's presentation with our kinder math results. And it's very simple to see our progress, just looking at those three graphs. Throughout the math portion, I'll be presenting our results using approaches meets and masters. I'd like to bring to your attention that the instruments used to measure our students' growth are reliable and valid for the state of Texas using our MIC software. So in kinder, we can see how, as compared to the beginning of the school year, we are on mastery 13 times as much as when we were at the beginning of the school year. Our meets numbers have multiplied times 8, and our approaches numbers have multiplied times 4.
Good evening. And I'd like to report on kindergarten literacy in English. So one of the data points that we are using for tonight's presentation is our iStation data. The overall, when we assess children in early childhood and literacy, we're looking at 5 critical domains of early literacy. So this is an overall score that includes phonemic awareness, alphabetic knowledge, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, just to put that in mind. You can see that at the beginning of the school year in August. So just to kind of go back with what Dr. Vazquez did, her graphs are showing approaches, meets, and masters. And I'd just like to point out that the tiers that we're looking at here, or the bar graph, is showing tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Again, that is tier 1 is when students are on grade level, and that's overall core content on grade level. And then the tier 2 is focused on targeted small group instruction. That's showing that those children that need those interventions. And then the tier 3 is that more intensive individualized instruction. So you can see that we want to see, as we're looking at tier 1, the growth from 25% of our students that were on tier 1 in August increased by 20% to 45% of them being on grade level and tier 1. So we want to see that growth increasing as we move forward when we look at the blue bar graph. And if we look at the yellow, that is our one-on-one intensive instruction, and we want to definitely see that decrease. So I just wanted to point that out. So with kinder, you can definitely see the growth in our English. And then as we move into the Spanish, so this time we are also highlighting the data that we saw in Spanish, because the program that we utilize is in English and in Spanish. And then just to kind of let you know, so this is, as again, one of our data points. We do focus on several measures in literacy, but we also look at different ways that we assess students in early childhood, because it is critical that we don't look at just one way that children are reading and gathering those skills, but we also administer one-on-one assessment with children under our CLI Engage assessments. And so I just wanted to let you all know that we do dive in and we do look at this data, and we also are looking at other points. So we are also looking at that in Spanish, there was also growth. And we know that in our dual language classrooms, children are basically, when they come to us in preschool, kinder, they are developing language, period. So we are looking at just building their native language, and then making sure that as they're progressing through our dual language program, that they are growing in both of those languages. So we do take that into consideration. So we are seeing that there is growth in tier 1 instruction from 15% from 25 in August to 40 in May.
Going on to grade first math, as you recall, a couple of months ago, we came before you asking for your approval to partner with the University of Texas at Austin, funded through the MSF, to hold grade 1 early interventions. So we can see the results of those interventions now. Looking at the grade 1 math data, we see that our mastery numbers increase starting compared to the beginning of the school year. We see a big, big increment, almost 5 times as much as what we had in the mastery area as well. And then, of course, we also see growth in the approaches area.
And then just moving forward to grade 1, we also see in English that there was an increase in tier 1 from 29% to 52%. And then of course the decrease in our tier 3, which went from 46% to 24%. And then we're going to look at the Spanish, which also we are happy to see that there was growth as well from 36% in tier 1 to 51% in May in tier 1.
The next graph is our incoming third graders. So last year when they were in second grade, we have growth for that population, which I'm very excited. This is this coming year, this group of students will take the state assessment for the first time. So look at our numbers and how we are predicting the growth. We have mastery grew 7 times as much as what it used to be at the beginning of the school year. Our meets numbers are 4 times as high. And we do have some drops on the approaches, but I consider that a very positive thing, considering that many of those students jump from the approaches performance to the meets or masteries.
And then moving forward to grade 2. So we also saw in English, we saw gains from 50% of our students in tier 1 in August to 58% in May. And again, you can see the growth and the decrease in our tier 3. So we want to see the increase in tier 1 and then as the numbers decrease in tier 2 and tier 3. When we move into Spanish, so of course with anything, we're always looking at gains and we're looking at growth, but we're also looking at those red flags that kind of point out, okay, so maybe our students haven't progressed in certain areas. So when we pulled the data for grade 2 literacy on iStation, we did notice that there was a slight drop in our tier 1 from 41% to 37%. And then there was movement in, and there was an increase in our tier 3. So that could be, due to several factors. But honing in on, like I said, on specific skills as we're assessing children in those grade levels, we were able to see which particular skill that we may need to provide those intensive supports. And in looking at the data, it was in vocabulary and in phonemic and phonological awareness. So from our perspective, that we have a plan put into action in the beginning of the school year. We also, at the beginning in the summer, in our summer education program, all of our elementary campuses did provide interventions for first and second grade students. So with small group instruction in both monolingual and bilingual classrooms. So now these students that are coming into third grade, then we can go ahead and follow them and see where they're at. They were provided, like I said, with those interventions, and then we have other systems in place to make sure. So for example, we work very closely with our academic language services department, making sure that the teachers have that PD that they need. There is a phonics program in kinder and first grade that teachers use, which is called Escrita. But now there is also another program that kind of will bridge that as children are moving into third grade that still focuses on those foundational skills. So there are things that we have put into place, and then we also take into consideration that these children that are in grade 2 now, the past 2 years that they have been in school have been, it's been challenging for them, having those remote learning in kinder and in first grade, and then coming into in-person learning. So that helps us see where that need is and provide a plan of action for those students. But other than that, it's been a lot of growth happening within those early grades. And but now we can really hone in and target on the needs of those students in this particular grade level in Spanish.
This is the last of the grade levels that we're presenting tonight, Board of Trustees. For third grade math, on the state exam that was recently taken, we see growth compared to the previous year. We have going from 10% of mastery to 24 from the most recent administration this May, from 22 on meeting to 47%, and from 62 approaches going up to 79. Just absolutely phenomenal. Really great to see that our district is showing growth in and recovering from those learning gaps that were left after COVID. I'd like to expand, and we could go to the next slide, please. Before I pass this on to Sandy again, I'd like to expand onto the interventions that she was talking about that took place this last summer. We were a very proactive district in terms of intervention across grade levels. This past summer, we identified the students. We had a very quick turnaround. The state assessment provided data results on a Monday. By the following Friday, we had already identified which ones were the students that needed the most support. We gathered the teachers, provided a small group instruction. We put the curriculum together. And so we had individual meetings about students that really had needs. Administrators were included on those meetings. There was a superintendent designee from the central office sitting on those meetings. I personally sat in several of them. And those were great meetings because we had a group of educators that were related to the child in some kind of capacity, and we spoke about their needs. The parent was included, the child was included, and those were just very productive. Those took place before the summer interventions. So when we sat with the students into those small group settings, we had already met about the child, we had already looked at what they needed, and it was just a very positive experience. I believe that we're starting off the school year with a really good head start onto the needs of the students as we start this new year.
And then finally, so for grade 3 reading, we're ending with, again, wonderful news that we did see growth. And so from 70% approaches to 80%, and then masters 17% 2021 to 30% in 2022. And then just to highlight, we continue to work with our campuses and our teachers, and it's teachers that do the work in the classrooms and provide those interventions, and really it's focused on what the needs of their students are. We continue to provide support by ensuring that all of our K-3 teachers have successfully completed the reading academies. And make sure that that training is provided. We have another cohort that just started this year. We will continue to ensure that all of our teachers that are in those grades adhere to that mandate. We have refined practice guided reading and small group instruction, again, providing professional development for that. And then again, tutoring and interventions through summer education program, through the House Bill 4545, through all of the different ways that we're meeting the needs of students in the classroom, outside of the classroom, meeting with parents. Our iStation monthly assessments and instruction have enabled prioritized student instruction, so there's interventions there through their CLI Engage platform that there are also intervention supports. And then the implementation of Wilson Foundations in K-2, which is focused on reading, spelling, and handwriting. It's a phonics program with explicit instruction. We have already, we will be providing PD at the beginning of the year at our great conference that provides a review for all teachers to ensure that they are trained and they're provided with that support throughout the year to continue to see that growth in reading and make sure that all of our students are reading at grade level by the time they are at grade 3 and they're ready for, to move forward with that. So, but our highest, the most important thing is that we want to make sure that they are provided with a solid foundation in these early grades in K-2, and that means the whole child, including the literacy and the math, but also social emotional, because that above everything else, that's the most important, I believe.
This is the last piece of information as to what's happening to math as we move on to the following school year. Our plan is to continue to have a strong first teach. I think that that's a very important thing that we continue to do. Most of the learning will happen in the classroom. We will continue to use a personalized instruction-led approach. We will continue to offer small group intervention through the new legislation, House Bill 4545. We have already logistics and methods in place to ensure that those take place. We have brought, the curriculum and instruction department has brought a new, it's something similar to what happens in ELR with Amplify. It's called CERN Math. And the specialization of this curriculum is to focus on tier 2 instruction, so that we have a very deliberate way in which we offer this kind of remediation for students in math. I'd like to thank you for approving the initiative to continue with our work with UT Austin to provide grade 1 interventions. As you saw in the packet that was approved tonight, we will expand that to kinder. And so we're just really excited about that because this really showed positive growth in our.
If I might, for the community members, it's disrespectful when we have a presenter speaking, to please respect that.
Yes, sir.
And we'll kind of hear the noise in the background. You have to just.
Absolutely, I apologize. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So as I was saying, I'd like to thank you for approving the grade 1 math continued interventions. We're expanding onto kinder because we have obtained very positive results for those very important populations that we want to target. And then we'll continue to use the M-STAR, E-STAR to be able to identify students who might not be doing too well on algebra readiness. We identify them as early as 2nd grade and we provide the correct intervention at the right time. This is all for our presentation tonight. Do you have any questions that you'd like us to answer?
All right, anybody on the board have any questions?
Of course.
Ms. Searles, you recognize.
So I have 3 questions. I'll start with one. I'll address this to Dr. Galavis. I doubt you have the answer for it, but if you could put in our Friday packet, our student teacher ratio, Thursday packet, our student teacher ratio in our elementary schools. Are projected. Yeah, what you project. I know everyone isn't registered yet, and maybe it's a little early. Maybe you could show what was last year and what we project for this year. So that was the easy one. Do all campuses have phonics?
Yes.
Every single elementary campus is using phonics, and for Spanish is a phonetical language. So I would think.
So we, this past year was the first year that we purchased Foundations, which is the phonics program that we use for our monolingual classrooms. And our academic language services department purchases Estrellita, which is for kinder and 1st grade, and that is also a phonics program. So actually, our dual language teachers in pre-K, K1 utilize Estrellita. But then now the conversation is the 2nd grade and making sure that there's that gap, that bridging that gap and ensuring that those foundations. But every dual language teacher in the district receives the Foundations kit for their monolingual, for the English component of their program and then the Spanish.
And in just the monolingual program, no dual language, they're getting phonics?
Yes. Yes. So this past year was the first year that now district-wide, there's that consistency with that phonics program.
I think we're going to see our scores so way high.
So that's what we're hoping that we're going to see that.
And then I have a question on the math. Are math teachers on the little ones using, and Dr. Galavis, you were a big proponent of this in your soundbite, project-based learning, that it's hands-on, that you can see 1 + 1 is now 2. Is there project-based learning going on with the little ones?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Rose. The curriculum that we use district-wide, except for the advanced academics, and that starts in middle school, through TICSRS, we have what we call performance assessments. Now, those performance assessments, when the teachers start unpacking their units, they meet as a group, they see what they're going to be teaching to the students. The first thing that they will do is they will look at the questions that the students should be able to answer at the end of that unit to be successful. If you see those questions, there's not a whole lot of questions. It might be unusual, it's a little bit unusual for new teachers when they come to a district to see that we use 2, 3 questions as opposed to maybe a 15-question quiz that they consider more reliable. Well, those 3 questions are questions that ask the students to utilize the language that they learned in an applied situation. Now that's problem-based learning. It takes a little while for the non-kind of video student to adapt to that. It takes a little while for the non-kind of video educator to adapt to that. There's a bit of a learning curve on that, but then eventually it does become the norm. This coming school year, we are partnering with Region 19 to provide with a lot of training to our math teachers throughout the school year. So it's not just a one training at the beginning of the school year during a great conference, but it's an ongoing sequence so that teachers meet with a certain group of people that are specialized in the content and they help them to unpack that unit, see what the students should be able to learn and how to go best about delivering that content, so that it's not focused so much on something that is procedural, but being able to apply the knowledge and skills that the curriculum calls for.
So we do, what I'm hearing from you is.
Our
we're going
curriculum
over
calls
and
for that,
above
yes ma'am.
with
Our
project
curriculum
based
calls
learning.
for that.
That's excellent.
And the
because-
redesign for the state assessment is going to call for a lot of that. Doing mathematics in isolation is something that will become obsolete in this new redesign of our STAR assessment.
And I'm all for, memorization and the multiplication tables, but when it comes down to reality, it's hard. It's a lot harder for some than others, so I'm very glad to do that. Thank you. and
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. So, anybody else?
We're very happy with the results, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to a very successful school year.
Hold on, Ms. Crowe, okay, commented, and I'll get to you. Ms. Crowe.
In the implementation of Wilson Foundations in kinder to 2, we always have this program
We just started this year.
this year,
Yes.
right? It's this
Yes.
year, can you please?
Yes, so, that was one of the mandates from the state, that every school district would have some type of explicit phonics instruction. And so that was what, we had some campuses that were utilizing different phonics programs, but what we wanted to ensure was that there was that consistency. So yes, this past year, we purchased it for every kinder, first and second grade classroom teacher in the district. And this is the first year of implementation district-wide.
It's been working great.
And it's been working great, and like, we are ensuring that we have a review, training during our group conference. All the teachers have the materials, we've already put, an order in for the consumables to make sure that they can start on day one, utilizing the finance program district.
And what kind of program, which kind of program do you use to evaluate your kids? That they really,
So there are embedded assessments in any of these programs, and so the teachers can see as they're moving forward with guided reading. The explicit instruction out of the foundations program, it's like 15 lessons that teach the rules of the language, the sounds and different rules that students will pick up on. And then it's implemented throughout their literacy block. And then the teachers, as they're working with students through guided reading and, their decodable books, are able to see them grow through the process of learning the foundational skills in literacy. And then again, as we administer through iStation, they're going through that program and they're assessed monthly. And then we also administer beginning, middle, and end of the year assessments focused on literacy as well.
yes, and in grade 1 math, we see the middle of the year and the end of the year, the 2 columns, it didn't decrease at all, right? Stay in the same number, 7, did not decrease.
For mastery,
End of the year.
yes ma'am, thank you. For mastery, it didn't. But if you recall, our focus for grade math was the underprivileged students where we had a large number of students that were not meeting grade level. So while I see what you're pointing out, I think that it's important that we see that in conjunction with the large increment that we do see at the needs and the increment that we do see at the approaches. So that's where the focus was, and that's where we saw that a lot of the interventions that were taking place for those students, those were very individualized interventions delivered by highly qualified professors in early childhood education that we partner with. And so professional development was given to the people that we hired through that grant and to the teacher of record. The continuation of that is going to continue to show growth as we move forward, because we are moving students from the tier 3 to the tier 2 and to the tier 1 as well.
Okay, as well, the last behavior as well in May 2022 in kinder literacy,
still the same. We didn't move the middle to from tier 2 to tier 3. Just one page. The kindergarten.
So. So then as we're noticing that, if it stays the same, then you're also seeing that possibly, some of the students that have moved from tier 3 have moved to, tier 1. And so you have to, when you're looking at the growth from tier 1, 2, and 3, sometimes the movement will happen in another tier. So if the numbers might stay the same, but some of those students may have moved and into tier 1, you would see that growth. And so, and then there's also taking into consideration like the numbers of students that are assessed at the beginning of the year and end of the year. There's a lot of movement, even as we're looking at numbers across the district. So we have to also take that into consideration as we're looking at the data from where we were at the beginning of the year and how many students were in that grade level to where they were at the end. And so it's really kind of looking at that as well.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody else? Ayan?
I guess the question of what time it's going to be involved. Quick. The demographics of the district. We all know what they are. Do you see challenges in the more, we use Westway as an example, the less affluent parts of the community? Do you see the challenges for these kids to progress, and what are we doing to address those challenges? You talked about meeting with the parents with those kids that needed more help. What were some of the challenges that those kids were facing? Are we addressing those challenges?
I'm really glad you bring that question up. If we break our population down by subpopulations, do we have challenges? Absolutely. We have majority of our students speak English as a second language. We have our special education students. We have a high ratio of economically disadvantaged students. So do we have challenges? The answer to that is absolutely we have challenges. Do we provide equal opportunity for success? That means provide each student what they need to succeed, which might not necessarily mean give everyone the same. Absolutely, we will create that. I think that a great example, and it gives me a lot of pride to say that, because not just every district could say the same thing. If we take a look at a representative population, say from our advanced academics, that population will be representative of the district demographics. It is not composed of the elite. It is not composed of any specific type of selected population. When you see, and this was part of a news article on El Paso Times, I think it was last year, when they compare how, for math, for example, how our students perform at those high levels, when they see what kind of students perform at the same high levels across the region, you would see students from far more affluent schools, and our students are performing at that same high level. So El Paso Times quoted, the opportunity that Canutillo offers to their students is transformational. And I think that's the word, that's the appropriate word to use. The opportunity that we provide to our students is transformational to their lives. What kind of challenges were brought up when we had those conversations with parents? Many, and many of which are related to the question that you're posing. Is it a challenge? Yes, it is, but we embrace the challenge and we see the challenge as an opportunity to be innovative and to be different and to make a difference on someone who would otherwise maybe not done well had they not come to us. So thanks for asking.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Galvez.
Mr. Chair, comment. And sort of just piggybacking on what Sal and what gives me great pride, you know, I have several people around either the state or around the country, and when they start looking at our data, and they're like, wait a minute, you guys are doing it right, because when you start dissecting the subgroups, whether it's by race or by economics or by different barriers like not limited English proficiency, but what's the other one? Because that's using it as a deficit there.
Emergent bilingual.
Emerging bilingual students. Our district has been forefront in regards to how we look at those inequities and how we address it, and how our students are actually doing so. For me, you know, I'm not a teacher, never will, never say never, but I do have a lot of respect. What I'm saying on that part is that I entrust, you know, our superintendent and staff to support the great work that they're doing, because we are doing something good in our community. When you start dissecting those subgroups, it's really rewarding. From my side as a board member, I'm sure as staff, you all, you know, you all are the ones that are really having an impact on your students. And so as we continue to be innovative and transformational, I think we still need to look at ways for improvement, because we still need to lead, but I think we're doing a great job. And so how do we continue to lead and support our staff? And so I think that's supporting our superintendents and staff. Exceptional reports, whether it was HEB recognizing us or my colleagues across the state and the country, when they try to look at it, as you know, they'll look at our data and be like, hey, something good is happening, and you start dissecting our data.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to add something to that. And you know, we are very blessed to work in this district, and, you know, I have colleagues in other districts, and we always share, and, you know, what are we doing, and being very passionate about early childhood education, I've always felt very supported in the vision and the mission of taking care of our youngest learners, the ones that, well, the first time that they step foot in the classroom, and ensuring that they're provided with a safe and nurturing and loving environment. And that's attributed a lot to the support that we receive, like Ms. Rocha, our, you know, our associate superintendent, outgoing associate superintendent, and our incoming Dr. Kearney, Dr. Galavis. Anytime that we have asked for support for early childhood, there's never been a no. It's always, what do you need? Let's do it. And that, I mean, that speaks volumes to the growth that we see with our students. Ms. Rocha was the one who wanted to ensure that we were using funding. Let's provide every kinder teacher with an aide. I mean, nobody else was doing that. And that was because she saw the value in adding an additional person in that classroom to help support those kids that were coming to us and looking at the whole child. So yes, the data is important, and the literacy, and we want to make sure that the academics is there. But for us, it's also about looking at, like I said, the whole child, and social, emotional, and ensuring that they are provided with that strong foundation. So just hiring the people, and I'm hoping that once the funding runs out, that I can come back and I can ask you all for support to continue to fund those positions. But I mean, we'll save that for another time. But of course, I'm going to continue to advocate, because our teachers are the ones that are in there, and they're in their daily, working with those little ones and ensuring that they are growing and that they're ready. So I, you know, thank you to all of you and to our administration, and of course, teachers.
One thing I have in regards to expansion, we know it's becoming a competitive environment, whether it's private or public. Going back to, you know, getting my family getting this in the know. What areas do you see where we could see growth and be innovative? And I think that's important, maybe to go back to staff. But I think we're going to continue to be competitive, innovative, and transformational. So I think don't be afraid, Dr. Galavis and your staff, to come to us and say, okay, this is where we need the money. Because when you look at it, it's research, right? And, you know, there's already been best practices. So how do we expand, and how do we be more creative? So,
Well, that's something that will probably be on the next board agenda item in August. So we'll be back to talk about that. But there's definitely in the works a lot of things that we can do to make to continue with being innovative and transformational, and just thinking outside the box and thinking about what's in the best interest of kids. And you know, I mean, past 2 years, things have changed so much that now we're no longer, I mean, we're not doing things the same way, and that's a good thing, right? We have to move forward and see what we can do to continue to do those things. But with the support of you all and our administration, then, I mean, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. We can just keep moving forward and keep putting San on the map in terms of being that district that focuses on, you know, the environment and what that does for kids and, you know, all of these other things. So I think I'll be back and we'll all be back and we'll have another proposal to, you know, to focus on that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I do have a question for you on Great One Rivers. You would attribute the differences from the August to the May 2022 page of the Great One Rivers.
Okay, so with the tier one, so we saw the growth, right, with 29% to 52%. And then, so the thing that we wanted to see was, of course, the decrease in tier three from 46% to 24%. So that includes that intensive support with that, maybe that one-on-one intervention for students. So that we saw as the growth. And then, you know, with the tier two, like I said, with sometimes when we're looking at the different graphs, that movement could attribute to a child moving up into tier one. And so that's where you can see the difference in the numbers. But definitely we do like to focus on that growth and moving from, you know, through the tier one where that whole instruction, meaning that they're on grade level, and then decreasing the number in tier three.
Okay. And I see the decrease, it's just that the middle one was kind of stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, and so that could be, you know, we're still providing it with them with the support. Sometimes it might be the numbers, and then the increase could happen in moving into tier one, but there are different factors that can contribute to that. So sometimes, like I said, there's movement within those tier two and tier three, so it could be different students moving into those areas.
Like just replacing the.
Yes.
All right, but you know, I really like the results of the, but I'm glad that you guys are doing the spelling and the handwriting programs, because you know, aside from doing the, you know, we want to get them up to the testing issues, I really want to make sure that we teach them how to read, write, and understand, and be critical analysis. Got to be doing more than just teaching them to get our scores. Really want to make sure that and you know, like everybody said, good job. We're doing that in the right direction. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Next agenda.
You crossed your lip well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7B, discuss and take possible action on approval of the resolution of the board to designate an individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the borough people tax rate, and other truth in taxation.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion on this agenda item, and we have any further discussion? Jessica, please.
Mr. Coronel?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza?
Yes.
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Earls?
Yeah.
And Ms. Chong?
I would like to add a statement, as long as it goes 2 points below, I vote yes. Thank you. It's 2 points from 82, from 34 to 30. You want me to say the points?
I'm not sure that.
Yeah, it was 2 points decrease from the projected revenue.
No, we're not voting on that. All we're doing is approving this quality as a person to calculate certain items in the tax.
Oh, it's
There's no number that's being.
there's no numbers?
There's no number being said.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's no number in that,
No.
on the tax rate. Okay, thank you, then my vote is yes.
Is that everybody? Okay, motion passes. Next agenda item.
Item number 9, adjournment. Time is 8:23.
All right. well,
Yeah, happy 4th of July.
Thank you, board.
So here, 8:30,